Hello, this is our daily reading in Greek. Today we're on Matthew chapter 4. We're going to read three select verses in that chapter. So let's get started. So let's take this, and we're going to read it in Greek, and then we're going to read it in a very general sense in English, and then we're going to break it down using the grammar and be a little more nuanced with it. Okay, now here it is in Greek. Tate ha Jesus enekthou enekthe eistain ereman hapa tu pneumatas perasthenai hupa tu diabalu. And let's follow that up with, in the English, then Jesus was led into the desert by the Spirit to be tempted by the devil. So we have, let's see, preposition. Here we have the theta used here and used here in two different verbs. When we see the theta, we normally automatically assume or see the passive, and that's true here. This is, change colors. This is the root anek, which means to lead up, sometimes used for sailing. Anek, and then the the, so it means to lead up. And then the passive means that he was led up. And this eta here at the end is simply telling you that it's nominative because it's who was led up? Jesus was led up, right? So it agrees with the nominative case in the verb. It agrees with what the verb, which noun is being associated with that verb. Jesus was led up, okay, into the wilderness by the Spirit. Here we have the preposition hupa, and it's going to be like all prepositions. It's going to be nuanced according to the case that it's of the word it's associated with. In this case, hupa, by what? By what? By the Spirit, okay? And that is in the genitive case. We know this from the article. So that means by the Spirit. Now, the next word, it is also in the passive because of the theta. It could be in the middle, but we'll just determine that by context. Pay Ross, actually, that's that sigma is actually a zeta. It's actually pares from pareseo, but in this case, this is zeta changes to a sigma because it precedes a theta, but nothing unusual there. This is the they tells you it is definitely passive. That, and this means to tempt, and then because it's passive, being tempted. And the new alpha iota, the nigh in the ending, tells you it's an infinitive, to be tempted. And then once again, the same thing as here as here. In fact, they're the same preposition attached to the same case, which is the genitive case. So it's also by, to be tempted by the devil. So let's go on now to 4:12. Akousos de hate iones paradothe anekorosin eis tein Galilean. And now let's go do this in just a very general English translation. Having heard now that John was taken up or arrested, he departed into Galilee. Let's next take. Now this is this is a participle. Akuo was going to be the root here, the aku, and then the sauce right here, sigma, alpha, sigma, tells us, should indicate to us from the patterns that it's participle and that it is an aorist. Aorist, very often, this type of aorist will have a sigma between the root word and the suffix, and then so that sigma tells you that it is an aorist. This alpha sigma tells you that it is an aorist. A participle. So it is having heard. Okay, participles are a verb turned into or kind of mutated into either an adjective or an adverb. In this case, having heard, it is an adjective. It's describing something about Jesus. He had heard. Having heard that John, now here we have, like in verse 1 of this chapter, we have the theta, okay, and the eta, very similar form to the one of the verbs in the previous verse we just did. That tells you that it is it could be middle, but it is passive, and it's associated with the it's a nominative, so it's associated with the subject of the verb. That's also a nominative. In this case, John. John was what? He was arrested. Okay, and it's in the passive. John didn't arrest someone. The verb was acted upon him. He was arrested. So after hearing that John was arrested, anakoresin. Now here we have, let's figure out what the root is. Anekore. There's your root, right? And then once again, this sigma tells us it's an aorist. Now, future verbs also have future tense verbs also have sigmas, but their endings are more like the present indicative, right? And this one is not. The ending is not. So it tells us it's the aorist. He went or departed for or into Galilee. All right, now let's do the next verse. And the last verse we're going to study in this chapter is going to be verse 25. Let me get my pen. First in the Greek. Kai ekaluthesan auto aklu palu apates Galileas kai decapaleus kai iorasul sumon kai Iudeas kai peran tu Iordanao. or Iordanu. The English is going to be, and crowds, and they followed him. This sentence, just a little spoiler alert here, is scrambled compared to what we're used to in English. So just let me state that and then go back and start again. And they followed him, crowds, great crowds from Galilee and the Decapolis and Jerusalem and Jordan and beyond, actually Judea and beyond the Jordan. Now go back here. This time, let me erase some of this, clean it up a little bit, getting a little messed up. Here we have, let's identify our verbs. Ikaluthesan. Now, before the previous two verses, it's easy to get tricked sometimes. Every time we see a theta, okay, in a verb, it does not automatically mean that it's in the middle or the passive. In this case, this is part of the root. The root word is akaluthe, okay? And so this is part of the root. It is not added to the verb at all. Now this initial verb, vowel is it's normally a alpha, but which is often the case, especially with a aorist, does change, either lengthens or shortens to something else. Okay, in this case, the original alpha lengthened to a eta. Here we are. That sigma right there tells you that it's the aorist. Joins the root word with the suffix, which is alpha nu, which tells you that it is the aorist. It's describing who followed them, the great crowds from, okay? And then the rest of it is just locations. Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and beyond the Jordan. All right, I hope you benefited from that. That was 3 verses from Matthew 4. Come back and guess what we'll study next? Matthew 5. So excited to get back and to see you again.